Time for the final video from our big Niagara Falls, Canada adventure, and today we are at Fantasy's Island, no longer Martin's Fantasy Island. It was that name for a long, long time. It's Niagara's amusement and water park. I'm the legend. That's my wonderful girlfriend, Molly. Let's go check out the park. Like a little fountain at the entrance. As we're serenaded by the games host doing his own karaoke, we're going to start off with the park's #1 attraction, the Silver Comet, 20 years old. CCI coaster. Actually, I thought it was pretty fantastic. This is wonderful. As we're serenaded, pretty smooth ride. Kind of a cool layout too. Like, it's a layout you don't really see very often. A little bit of out and back, a little bit of twister. Had some good airtime. If you're a coaster fan, I really think this is probably worth the price of admission to come on here. I was worried it was going to be a rough ride. It was not. So I give it a thumbs up. Here goes Crazy Mouse, which is the park's spinning wild mouse coaster. If you've never been on one of these before, well, first they have adorable mouse cars. And you go through the first half of the ride not spinning, so it's more like a traditional wild mouse. As you can see, Molly is in the blue mouse, currently not spinning. And you go through a pretty standard wild mouse stuff, and then you go through a little dip coming up right here. Little dip. Then you go this way, and then you're gonna go down the bigger dip. Big dip. And kind of a double up. And then coming up here is when they unlatch and you start spinning. Now it depends on the weight of their car, and the ride up was actually pretty cool. He told us, like, hey, if you guys want to spin more, put people all on one side. Like, Molly's not spinning too intense, but some rides you get on these, it is pretty wild. Also, it always boggles my mind that Walt Disney World has one of these. Like, this park where there's like 30 people at today has the same ride as Walt Disney World. It's just kind of mind-boggling to me. But they are fun family rides. But I think my favorite part about the ride might be the old miner safety stick. It feels very like old school Cedar Point-esque.
So we are at Mine Warp, and he has never seen this before, so he really wanted to go on it. And it looks like I would hate it because you're hanging upside down very slowly. It's very interesting.
They've got a Zamperla Disco, which are pretty solid flat rides. They've got a pretty good size one too. Not one of the really fun disco coasters, but still a pretty good size model. The park has quite the name for their Gravitron, the Devil's Hole. That is something. Also, wonderful cartoons over here. The park's got a Starflyer style ride. Not one of the taller ones, but still fun. This guy's Tilt and Shout. I like these rides. Also, an interesting logo. Molly, where are you driving us to?
Through the park.
Through the park, okay. Not under the highway, right next to the park.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're on Crankshaft Cruisers, the park's antique autos attraction. Not a more interesting track, but a longer track. Like, you don't really go past anything except for some grass. And I guess there's a little tunnel and bridge. And Molly has coaster hair. Not working today is the park's Ferris wheel. It's actually in a good spot because it's like right next to the highway that runs through Grand Island and acts as a pretty much as a billboard for the park. Rock and Roll is the park's Music Express. I do love the big jukebox in the middle. Tilt-A-Whirl is always a good time. Some bumper cars over here, and it's interesting, like some of the rides are permanent and some of them are just traveling fair kind of stuff, and the bumper cars totally traveling fair stuff. The park has a Strike You Up by Skyline Attractions. Looks like it probably hasn't been run in quite some time, but it's here, complete with their logo on the side. So something that's closed today because it's only like 60 degrees out here in June is they have a small water park called Splashaway Bay. The 3 slide structures I'm going to show you now. We'll say those blue slides right there, that looks pretty fun. And bowl slides are fun. They also have a lazy river in there as well as a wave pool. for like the 3 days a year in Western New York that's water park season. So the next section of the park is the Fairy Tale Forest. So this is a really weird kids ride, Goosey Goosey Gander. First of all, I love the sign, that is adorable. And then I guess the little kids ride on these ducks, and these ducks are all wearing fun hats, and it goes around in circles. Fun hats. Now this must be a show. It is story time with Oakley, whom I'm assuming is a talking tree. You've got Alice in Wonderland and a busting out of a house. And over here is this Pinocchio. Uh-huh. Oh, there's a button. All right. I'm now in the whale's mouth, and I'm going to push a button. The button doesn't do anything. But there's a better shot of that whale's mouth I was just in. More wacky fairy tale stuff here. You got Seven Dwarfs' house and the Three Little Pigs, and then this very strange man. I don't know what that is. There's one for Jack and the Beanstalk. Giant's got a sweet mustache. So here's the park's kiddie coaster, and it's got like the most adorable train I've ever seen. It's a little dog wearing a hat, wearing sunglasses. I made Molly go on by herself so we could get this in motion. She's currently rethinking her life's decisions. The ride itself, kind of nothing special. It is just a wacky worm kind of thing. But the train, so cute. It's even got a little tail. How wonderful is that? I'm not sure what the name of it is. I think it's like dog coaster or doggy coaster, which makes sense with the dog. There she is, having so much fun. Probably not at all questioning her life's decisions. What has led her to this at an empty amusement park on a Sunday morning? Riding a roller coaster in the shape of a dog built for children. And here comes the big drop. So, as much as I love the doggy coaster, the artwork is also incredible. Like this trash can, he's frightened. This dog is having a big smile while he pees. So in the middle of this field, there's just a giant that we thought it was sleeping or being tied down. But if you look at the detail, there's little tiny gnomes that are doing it. That's wonderful. So I'm assuming this mini golf course doesn't run, or is at least not running today, but it's got some fun stuff. Like a donkey wearing a hat. And over there, is that a dinosaur? Dinosaur. That is a dinosaur. Dinosaur. A couple of rides here in Kittyland. You got a Zamperla balloon ride. Older looking plane ride. I think it's kind of cool how you can fit like 2 kids in there. Probably gives you some good pictures. And then there's this thing. This thing is just weird. I don't... And it's like weird... What is like... this picture is a doctor. And that one's like an alien turkey?
I was thinking buzzard.
Alien buzzard? And then this is just weird. I love you could sit in the middle in that little like balloon thing. But yeah, this is bizarre. Oh, it's like a humanized chipmunky dog lady? I don't know. Oh, all right. You got a Spider-Man kind of motorcycle. And Hero Cat. A couple more kids rides. A little kids train. You've got this super adorable kids Ferris wheel where you're riding little pumpkins. And then a Rapunzel themed kids drop tower. There's a teacup ride. And then the park's clearly building something over here. Well, this is just adorable. It's an elephant water fountain. So this park has a surprisingly large amount of shows. This one is in the Fairy Tale Forest area. Since every park needs a freak frontierland, Fantasy Island is no different. You get Western New York classic beef on whack over here. And then just a little western town. So this is cool. They do a Wild West shootout a couple times a day. And you can walk into the jail. This is a cool facility here, the Golden Nugget. It's their saloon where they host a jamboree twice a day. Molly does love a good jamboree.
I do.
And you get to push open the old-timey saloon doors. And then you're in the saloon. So right near the park's entrance, you get a wonderful little park-type area and a carousel. We'll say the area is very well kept and well pretty. I guess maybe not some of this grass. Maybe I'll take some of that back. But I've seen a lot worse. So the park has a recreation of the Liberty Bell, which was apparently given to the park in commemoration of America's bicentennial by Bell's Markets. Interesting. Here's a little bit of the park map. Kind of like 3 different sections or 4 different sections. You've got a big Kiddieland area. There's a Western town. More of your throw rides are in the back. And then they also have a small water park. Over here is a buffalo with kids painted on it. Over here you got a whole bunch of nothing. And then I guess there's a totem pole on an island in the middle of a lake. So the park is no longer Martin's Fantasy Island, it's still Martin's Galaxy of Games. And one thing I like here, the games are cheap. You got Flintstones Derby, kind of like a goblet toss, cat rack, and then like a buck or two to play. So that's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty solid. I think you win sloths at this one.
So this is a game I Got It. And you toss a ball in. And you hope to get tic-tac-toe.
Ball 6.
And you keep going until someone yells, "I got it."
I'm not doing good, guys.
Ball 8.
No, he really is not.
Ball 9.
Oh no! So one thing that surprised me is the number of special events this park hosts. Obviously, their annual passes here are pretty cheap, but look at all this. Food truck festival, country barbecue festival, fireworks, Moonlight Magic, I guess that's like late night hours, cars and coasters, Kids Fest, the one I would really care about, Oktoberfest, and then Halloween Horror. So it's a good selection of things to do. This, I think, is the favorite piece of merchandise I've seen for the park. You'd be like, I believe the NXT Tag Team Champions at the moment, the Street Profits. If you really liked your visit, you could buy some t-shirts to commemorate it. Right now there's a sale. That's a pretty good deal. 2 t-shirts, $15. I think that one's my favorite with the logo. But as Molly would tell you, I have way too many t-shirts and probably shouldn't buy any more because it clogs up our house with shirts. And I have way too many closets. And
You
that
have
annoys
3
me.
closets.
One of which is all theme park and roller coaster and Disney shirts.
True.
And that'll do it for our time here at Fantasy Island. Overall, it's kind of an interesting park. Like there's a lot of different sections of it where it's odd. I will say from a coaster wise, Silver Comet's pretty cool. That's a good roller coaster. My favorite part of the day, by far, the karaoke singing games operator. I also love that they've got I Got It. That's a fun time. I also just like the little weird quirks about the park, like the random creatures and things like that. Like right here, they've got an old-timey a lion water fountain and stuff like that. I find the park to be quirky. I think it's probably a real good place if you have kids. Obviously, we're not doing the water park today. They have some slides over there, but it's probably good for kids. We're not kids.
I agree. It's good for like kids' birthday parties.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think their annual passes are super cheap, so if you lived in the area, it makes sense. All right, guys, that'll do it for Fantasy Island. We have to hop on a plane and get back to good old Central Florida.